Dear YouTubers, this is Iliab coming to you from Hong Kong. I'm here today to tell you the story about Christmas according to the Bible. If you're a Christian or atheist or whatever you are, I promise you, you haven't really read what the story in the Bible says, because it's nothing like the popular story that's being told during Christmas. If you read Matthew and Luke, the first few chapters, you get this real story. So now I'll tell it to you. Joseph and Mary, they went to Bethlehem because there was a census taken. When Jesus was born, angels showed themselves to shepherds. These shepherds informed them about the birth of Messiah in Bethlehem, and the shepherds went to visit the crib. Several months later, yes, you heard me correct, months later, the so-called three wise men showed up. This is kind of fun because in Greek, the word that is used for wise men is actually more the word for astrologer, and astrology was condemned in the Old Testament, in Deuteronomy and Isaiah, for example. So anyway, and we don't know if there were three of them or whatever. We know they gave three gifts, but it says astrologers. So these astrologers, several months after the birth of Christ, or the birth of the so-called Christ, they went to Jerusalem. The star showed them the way to Jerusalem, not Bethlehem. There, they went into Herod the Great. He was taking care of the Jewish area for the Roman Empire at the time. And they told Herod the Great, wow, we've seen the star, so we know that the King of the Jews have been born. And they were like, what? We don't know anything about that. So Herod called for some Jews to come in and ask the Jews, okay, what about this? Where is the King of the Jews supposed to be born? And they tell him he's supposed to be born in Bethlehem. So Herod tells these astrologers to go to Bethlehem and to find the King of the Jews, and then go back to him and report. Now these guys, they walk to Bethlehem and they find the Messiah and give the three gifts. That's where you have the three wise men from. Anyway, God doesn't like this, so he tells the astrologers to go, not to go back to Jerusalem, but to go somewhere else. Now, Herod understands that they're not coming back, and he's getting really pissed, right? So what does Herod do? He sends out his troops and tell the troops to kill all infants under the age of 2. Yes, that's what happens. He sends out the troops to Bethlehem and they kill all the infants. But of course, Jesus isn't there because God told Joseph and Mary to run to Egypt. Now, this is really cool, right? This shows that Christians haven't read the Bible. The whole story about Christmas is really bloody. It ends with the murder of all the infants in Bethlehem. And that the star that is so praised and sung about during Christmas, what did that do actually? The star led the astrologers to Jerusalem, who informed Herod so he could kill all the infants. And the star moved, by the way. After they talked to Herod, the astrologers saw that the star was moving. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon. I would wonder what the astronomy has to say about that. We're like moving a real star, kind of. Whoa. Okay, anyway. And that's how they finally came to Bethlehem. But anyway, the star astrology is condemned in the Old Testament. And in the beginning, when the Messiah was really born, angels appeared to shepherds. So it seems like there was like some evil force and some good force, maybe. Was it Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker? I'm not really sure. But they were at it anyway, and the star didn't result in anything that was even remotely glorious. It was only the death of infants. So, there! Now you know what's actually in Matthew and Luke about Christmas and the birth of the so-called Messiah. From us to you, have a great holiday!